Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Guy Griffiths from GG Fit, and welcome to the second member retention mini masterclass running Mondays at 2 p.m. throughout February. Just checking a couple of connection points here. It looks like we're okay and the screen is being shared. I'm slightly more limited today on the screen. So any questions, please do ask on the comments on the right-hand side there. As I said, my name's Guy Griffiths from GG Fit. Our mission is to help people get fitter, which we do by helping clubs to get their members to stick around longer. And the aim of these mini masterclasses, we've got 5 to 10 minutes each Monday at 2 p.m. to make you think about particularly about your new members in February and how they are going to be retained going forwards, to give you some measures and show you ways of improving. And now we're in the second week of February. Hopefully the January rush of new members has slowed down a little bit, or maybe hopefully it hasn't. You've had a busy month in January and the start of February. What we want to know is what happens next. And last Monday we went through how to engage better with your joiners. Today we're going to talk about selling more inductions. Next week we're looking at 7-day calls, why they're so important and why they often don't happen. And then finally, the week after next, how many members make it. Some people are watching live on Crowdcast. We've got quite a few people who have signed up for Crowdcast. That's the best way to watch, because you can come back and replay the videos at any time or share them with your colleagues. However, it's also fine to watch these on live stream through Facebook. The easiest way is through our Facebook page at GG Fit. So with that little bit of housekeeping out of the way, just a very quick recap. This is what we looked at last week. I'm not going to go through all the details because it's in the 10-minute video. It actually turned into be 12 minutes last week, about new member communications and measuring the communications that you're sending out to your new members. So go back and review that if you missed it last week. It is available on Facebook or on Crowdcast, and it's on our GG Fit YouTube channel as well now. Today we're going to look at inductions, selling more inductions, and getting members more motivated through performing good inductions. I call them inductions. A lot of clubs are moving away from the term induction now, which I think is a good thing. It doesn't have a good ring to it. And I think a lot of people have had bad inductions in the past. So if you're using different terminology like a step one or a getting started session or a welcome appointment or anything like that, I think that's good. For the purposes of this webinar, I'm going to call them inductions because it's quicker. And hopefully we know what we're talking about. First of all, this is a question I ask a lot. A lot of the clubs that we're working at or in presentations or conferences that we're doing, why do we do inductions? What's the primary reason for doing an induction or a welcome session? Well, the answer given by most people most often is health and safety. The problem is there's a lot of clubs out there now, particularly budget gyms, who are saying you can join without an induction. So health and safety really isn't such a good argument, or it's certainly not a good way of convincing members to have an induction. Writing a program is important. The other things people often go through, showing people how to use equipment, talking about goals, building rapport, selling PT further down the line. They're all reasons for doing an induction, but in reality, they're not the main reason that we try to get new members to have an induction. The key, the number one reason in my book for doing inductions is to ensure that members are making one visit, which sometimes sounds a little bit crazy, but we look at a lot of clubs and a lot of people joining, and we see a lot of joiners, sometimes up to 10% of joiners, who do not make any visits. So they join the gym, they sign up for their monthly DD, and they never visit. So the prime reason for doing an induction is to ensure that more people are making visits. So if you're making one visit, you're also, hopefully through the course of the induction, encouraging one more visit. So the key reason for doing an induction is making one visit and trying to ensure that the members are going to come back and make another visit. Sure, there's health and safety, there's writing programs, there's building rapport as well, but the key reason for doing an induction is to ensure that new members are making at least one visit. So we now know why we're selling inductions. How do we measure it? It's quite simple, but it can be one of those slightly more difficult things to measure, particularly, I mean, now it is the 12th of February. Everyone who joined in January, I would expect, would have had an induction by now, but you might want to leave it another week or two, or even to the end of February, to say, okay, everyone who joined in January should now have had an induction. And when we measure this for clubs, we see clubs that are performing well hit around 80%, or up to 90% of their new members having an induction. Clubs that claim every single member has an induction appointment and attends it generally are fooling themselves. So we'll often go in and clubs will say, everyone here has an appointment. We'll then look at the data and find out that less than half of the new members are actually having an appointment in their first month. And knowing how many of your, say, 100 joiners are having an induction is important, because you can then take this forward and say what happens next. And this is very typical. Looking at those 80 out of the 100 people that had an induction, we can see that 70 of them have made 4 visits in their first month. So they're green. But the red, the danger members, out of those ones who had an induction, 10 here, have not made 4 visits. They've made 0 or 1 or 2. Well, they've certainly made 1 visit because they had an induction. But after that, 10 of them haven't gone on to make 4 visits in their first month. But that's a small percentage, around 94% have made 4 visits in their first month. And we know that if people make 4 visits in their first month, they'll go on to stay longer at the club. I know it's only another 10 members, but the point here is that the percentage of people who didn't have an appointment, you can see it's pretty much 50, well, it is 50-50. 10 members did make 4 more visits, so they probably were genuinely experienced. But the other 10, some of those maybe aren't that experienced, or could have done with a bit of help, or could have done with an induction to help them make more than 4 first month visits. So it shows why we're selling inductions more. We're trying to get more people to have inductions, because then they will visit more frequently in their first month. And those first month visits are key to retention. So how can we improve this stat? How can we get more members to have an induction? There's lots of ways of doing it. We could send out member communications. We could train our front of house staff better at selling inductions. A classic way is to introduce a fast start induction. So rather than having a choice of you must have an induction, or you might be able to wriggle out of it and not have an appointment, or you might not turn up for the appointment, we've introduced the option of a fast start. So we're not necessarily going to spend a full half hour or 45 minutes or however long your induction is. We're going to spend 10, 15 minutes, maybe even quicker, to just get you up and running, to check that you do know how to use the equipment, find out how experienced you really are. And offering the fast start induction reduces the number of full-on inductions that are happening, but it does mean that 95% of members now are having some kind of appointment as they join the club, which is a good thing, which you'll see from the next chart here. We're now splitting the bars into 3, and you can see members who are having an induction, they are actually more likely, we're well over 90%, 95% now of members, sorry, there's around 92, 93% of members making 4 first month visits. There's only 5 left who had an induction who are not making the 4 first month visits. The fast starts, so offering this fast start option, we're getting 21 members through the fast start who are making 4 or more visits. And there's a bunch there that maybe could have done with a full induction. So we'll be following up with those and talking to them about that. And the people who either didn't turn up for the appointment or had no appointment booked, we only have 1 now. So these 4 are probably genuinely experienced exercisers who don't want or don't need an induction. So we've reduced that now down to just 10 members who are not making 4 first month visits, whereas previously we had 20. So that's just an example, a way of increasing the number of inductions that are happening when you're tracking them through your front of house system. So winding up with some measures just in terms of what you should be tracking. So sell the member benefits, and a bit like what we were talking about last week, if people are objecting to having an induction, then sell them the benefits. So know how to overcome those objections. Talk to members about the fact that they'll stay longer. Don't tell them they need an induction because of health and safety. Tell them an induction is a really good idea because they will stay longer. They will get results quicker. They will get to meet staff and other members. These are really important ways of selling the first appointment to the member. For the people that don't show, it's critical that we follow up. There's too many instructors out there who are finding a member not turning up for an appointment and thinking, great, I've got half an hour free now to go and do some cleaning or something even more exciting. They need to be calling, texting, emailing, and following up on the no-shows and encouraging people to turn up. And finally, showing the benefits to the staff, sharing the results, showing them how many people had an induction this month, showing them feedback from the inductions. It's really good if you can get some feedback on as many inductions as possible, because most members really value them and really will feedback that the instructors are doing a great job, and then reward that feedback. So tell instructors how well they're doing, and if really they're delivering inductions and getting 10 out of 10 or 3 out of 3 on every single one throughout the month, then give them some kind of reward. So that's why it is important to have inductions, how to measure them, and also how to sell more. I hope this was useful, and look forward to seeing you again next Monday at 2 p.m. when we're going to talk about 7-day calls. I've been Guy Griffiths at GG Fit. If you have any questions, I'll be here looking at the comments for the next few minutes. But otherwise, drop me an email to guy@ggfit.com. Thank you very much.